Evening, Carlton people. Welcome to the round 13 preview. We are up against the Doggies in what is our first matchup against a side who we have some data from, from this year. Obviously, the last time we played them was early in the year, back in April. We won the game by 44 points in, what was one of those games where we really just needed to get an early win on the board. A lot of talk throughout the start of the season. Obviously, Bolts was still with us, and a lot of talk was about, where is this rebuild at? And this Doggies game was one of those games where we felt like it was a good test to see where this, projection was actually heading. We really smashed them from the beginning until the end, albeit for a little bit of a challenge in that third quarter. But it was just one of those special days where things went our way. We came with the right mindset. We came with the right attitude. The right intensity, and we deserved the win. Samo and Cripper were insane. I think they had 51 possessions between them in the first half, and they really, it was Sam Petrescu-Seaton's breakout game of his career. And unfortunately, he hasn't been able to reach those kind of heights since. But it was just pleasing to see at the time that he had that kind of game in him, because we had been building towards it. This week's interesting. Obviously, the Doggies come off the bye, so they've had that extra week, and for them. If I'm a Doggy supporter, I'm thinking, where are we at? They're 4-7. I think for them, they'd be wanting to really attack this next part of the season and really find out if they're going to be a finals threat or not. They're probably holding on to their finals hopes with a glimmer. So this is an important game, and I expect the best of the Western Bulldogs this week. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they've got the likes of Crozier, Mitch Wallace, Taylor Duray, who I would think probably come straight back into the side. There's some hints about Dale Morris coming back for his first game of the season, but I don't think that'll happen. I feel like they'd probably give him a week or two in the VFL, and that's an incredible story. And, a lot of respect goes to Dale Morris. Every time we play the Bulldogs, it's one of those games where, obviously the individual matchups are exciting. The Cripps and Bontempelli comparison always gets made, two young superstars of the competition. Obviously, Bontempelli has the premiership, so he probably has the chocolates there, but I don't think anyone would be worrying if they had to pick one of the two and ended up with Paddy Cripps, because he comes off an incredible game last week, one of the best games that we'll probably see this season individually. So I'm always very excited to see the two of them matched up against each other. I think this will be a great game. I really do. I think the Doggies will come with their best, and obviously for us, we seem to. I think it's more hopeful than what we know. We think that the shackles have been broken. We think, the first quarter against the Lions, obviously, it was still pretty crappy. The skill errors weren't there. And then once the boys started to get their mojo and start building confidence 1 minute after another, one contest after another, there's an argument to be made that will release the pressure, and we will come into this week just roaring, ready to go, knowing we've got the bye the following week. So we'll just go all guns blazing, that type of mentality. So it's interesting. I don't think the Doggies were going too well just before the bye, so I think it came at a perfect time for them. So I expect fireworks. I expect this to be a really high-quality game, and I mean, it's really just it's a 50-50 game for me, really. On the one hand, you've got the Doggies who have a lot to prove to themselves and to their supporters, and on the other hand, you've got us who, we've obviously had a pretty crappy week last week emotionally, and we've moved forward, and the boys have really felt the emotions of Bolts, so it was an emotionally high game, and that always does bring up a letdown spot the following week potentially. So let's see how we go. I just want to touch on a few other bits and pieces of the news. We lose Jared Pickett for the season. The club have decided with Jared to part ways. Doesn't really faze me, to be quite brute and to be quite honest. I mean, I wish him all the best, and he had a horrid one with injury. He also did show up to, the preseason unfit, and obviously didn't put the work in. So he needed to earn his spot back, and unfortunately got fit, got injured, and he just really hasn't been able to get any continuity in his body. So I want to wish him all the best. And yeah, look, it's like I said, it's tough. It's a ruthless industry. It really is, and you either make it or you don't. And we didn't really see enough of Jared Pickett to really understand whether or not, he was going to be of value to us. So, yeah, I mean, just looking at just the raw data, we spoke about it last night with Dan, looking at how the, last week's game against the Lions matched up against Bolton's best game for the Blues this year. So we did have the raw data from the last time we played them. Our Our pressure is really what got us the win last time. Our clearance work was, unbelievable last time. We won the clearance battle 42-26. We got it out. We lowered our eyes. We were hitting up targets, and that's what I expect a lot more of this week. We fell into the trap early in the game against the Lions of having our key forwards not starting deep enough, and I really want to see us improve in that area. I don't want to see our forwards, especially Mitch, Harry, and Charlie, I don't want to see them sucked up the ground too much and then sort of running with the flight of the ball. I want them leading at the ball. Now that might come with a bit of confidence, knowing that your teammate's going to win the ball so you can be adequately positioned for that next disposal. And that's something I saw the Brisbane Lions doing really well in that first quarter, in that first half last week. So I'm looking forward to seeing an improvement in the way that we set up with our forwards, and I want to see them leading up at the ball a lot more. And I do expect us to win the battle in the middle, particularly with Cruiser. I think he hadn't played too many games of footy last time we played them, so he's pretty much at full fitness now, coming up against again a younger Tim English who we dominated last time, and so I do expect the same. And if Samo and Fisher come to play in the same way that they did against the Lions, then I think we're going to have a win in that area. Obviously Ed Kerno won't be playing that forward role, we don't think, so he'll likely go to one of their midfielders, and I think Gibbons will play in that midfield too. I really liked what I saw from him, and again, I just want to see another layer of those shackles being released and those players being able to play with a little bit of flair, a little bit of confidence, and so I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there at the game, obviously, and if it's 2 from 2, then that'll just lock me into Australia, because maybe it's a coincidence that I come home and we get that win that we were longing for. So what do you think? How do you expect us to line up this week? What are some of the thoughts coming through your mind this week about our setup compared to the Doggies? How do you train your mind to get ready for this week? Let me know in the comments below, and let's have a chat about it.